Hey rollers, welcome back to my channel. My name is Emma and I got some thoughts that I want to share.
Up on the housetop, reindeer paws, out jumps good old Santa Claus.
I recently just finished the book One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. I actually finished this on my Disney cruise. I talked a little bit about it on my Disney cruise vlogs, I think. And if you guys didn't know that I did Disney cruise vlogs, they're coming. Isn't that exciting? But I'm gonna throw that book right back there so it's in frame, but I'm not throwing it around because I was watching an old video where I was talking about books and that got really distracting really quickly. But I did want to do a very quick, what am I talking about? My videos are never quick. I wanted to do a book talk on this book, One of Us is Lying. I will tell you guys right now that there will be spoilers to this book talk. So if you haven't read the book and you're planning on, hit that X, maybe hit that like clock in the corner that says watch later and you guys can watch it after this. But I did want to let you guys know that this does have spoilers. I just have thoughts that I need to share with the world. So here I am, sharing thoughts with the world. Okay, Emma, let's get to the point. Also, I do want to let you guys know I do have notes on my phone. So if I am checking, like if I'm looking down, hopefully I don't. I tried to break that habit. But if I'm looking down, it's because I'm looking to make sure I got all my notes or where I am or that kind of stuff. The first thing that really stood out to me about this novel is that I didn't connect with any of the characters. So there are four main characters who are the four narrators. There's Browlin, who's super smart. There's Addie, who's like the popular girl who just kind of like a popular girl, but she's not a leader, she's more of a follower. There's Cooper, who's like heading to the MLB, like super good baseball player. And then there is Nate, who is the drug dealer bad boy. And those were just so, like those were four stereotypes that just felt like they were in these boxes. And like it didn't feel like they were more than the stereotypes that were in the boxes, if that makes sense. Like yeah, they all had moments where like Cooper was gay and Addie eventually learned to stand up for herself and Browlin did struggle at school for a little bit during her time at the school, but to me they just felt so stereotypical it was hard to connect with one of the characters. Like there was not a character that I was like, oh my god, this is my favorite character, or I see myself in this character, or wanting to read more about the character, or anything like that. Like I just did not connect with a single character in this book. Kind of going off of that though, I really felt, especially the farther and farther and farther I got into the book, that the author, Karen M. McManus, almost played favoritism with these four characters. I felt like we got a lot of Browlin's point of view, then came Nate, then came Addie, and then Cooper was almost like this side character that honestly, like if he wasn't in the book, I don't think we would have lost that much from the book. And for that, I was not really happy about that either. I felt like if you're gonna do a book that features four narrators, the four narrators either need to have some differentiating power in the novel. I know that Jodi Bacall often does books where it like is multiple different points of view, and I feel like when she does that, there are characters who are higher up. For some reason, 19 minutes is what's sticking out to me. And you have like the girl who's like the main character in 19 minutes. And like, yeah, she has a lot more chapters that are about her. And then you have like maybe the police officer or like the school psychologist or something like that. And they're lower down and they're only coming up every 4 or 5 chapters. And that's fine because they aren't the main characters. For narrators, they're supposed to be the four main characters. They're kind of supposed to be even. But I often felt like I was reading more about Browlin and more about Nate than I was about Addie, and definitely Cooper. Cooper felt like he was often just not part of it. There were even times within the novel that like the characters are talking about how they're catching Cooper up on other stuff, and I couldn't tell if that was intentional, like it was that maybe Cooper had kind of separated himself from the other characters, or if there was some form of favoritism where Karen McManus enjoyed writing Browlin more, or something like that. But there just felt like there was some character favoritism in it. And then there also were parts where it felt like Browlin especially, she gets like this great happy ending, and yeah, Cooper is out and he's proud of who he is, but he still has these issues at home. And like, yes, that's realistic, it is. But it's not realistic that Yale's tweeting at Browlin being like, make sure you apply, like we'll still give you a chance even though you stole your chemistry teacher's tests. Like they were just that, like it was almost like an uneven distribution of character power, and I didn't really like that, especially because if I had to pick a favorite character, it probably would have been Cooper. So maybe if like Browlin had been my favorite character, I wouldn't feel this way, but it just, there was like this weird distribution that I wasn't really all that thrilled with. So the whole premise of this novel is that there are 5 kids that are in detention: Browlin, Nate, Addie, Cooper, and then Simon, yeah. And Simon dies because he drinks something with peanut oil in it, and he's deathly allergic to peanuts, and someone stole all the EpiPens out of the nurse's office. And basically you're hearing these 4 characters' side of the story during the investigation, and little things get let out. So I'm sitting there and I'm reading it and I'm like, okay, we're gonna eventually get to something where like the person who killed Simon is gonna come out and they're gonna be like that, you know that movie in like action movies when the villain like reveals his evil plan and all of a sudden we all understand why he did what he did? Or there's an episode of Dawson's Creek where like the 3 boys do a prank together, and you see how the lies they told to get themselves out of trouble and like frame somebody else kind of all work together, so that they weren't really lying, they were telling the truth, but they were withholding certain pieces. So I was expecting a chapter like that at the end, like that we were gonna find out that one of these 4 characters had killed Simon and this is how they did it, kind of thing, and we were gonna see that they had been lying the whole time. Because that's kind of what I got from the title, One of Us is Lying. And yes, all 4 of them have secrets, but they aren't, for the most part, they're not that big. Like, Nate's isn't even a secret. He was a drug dealer. He didn't hide that. Like, yeah, he was on probation, so he was hiding it from his probation officer, but like, he wasn't hiding it from the school. So it just, I was actually disappointed by the unreliable narrator. I was going in wanting to try to figure out which of the 4 had done it. At the end of that novel though, as you guys know, because this is filled with spoilers, Simon was the one that, he ultimately had killed himself. He committed suicide and had put all these plans together. And I almost wish that, like, yes, you have the 4 characters who are telling their sides of the story. I almost wish that we had gotten like 3 or 4 Simon chapters that maybe were like a page and a half, that like maybe were like flashbacks of the moments he's had with the characters, which is why he targeted the characters, or something like that. Like something that was almost more, you could have at the end found out that it was like his online diary, or they found it in like the pile of stuff that he gave his friends that explains everything, or something like that. But like just hints from him, because I didn't feel like there were a lot of hints in it. I had, obviously the theory I already kind of talked about, thinking it was one of them. I also had almost like a side theory that each of the 4 main characters had pissed somebody else off, and those 4 people were even more angry at Simon, and they decided to frame the 4 people that had pissed them off, and the other 4 had worked together to kill him, if that makes sense. So like Addie had pissed off like Nate, and Cooper pissed off like his ex-girlfriend or something like that. I don't know. I don't know if that made any sense, but that was kind of what I was thinking theory-wise, because there weren't a lot in my mind, a lot of hints that it was Simon who did it. Like when the theory was brought up, I was like, okay, yeah, that's probably what it was. But it wasn't like I was sitting there and I was like, oh my god, how did I not put that together? Like I wasn't shocked, but there wasn't a time until like right before that was revealed that I was sitting there going, oh, you want to know what? I bet we're going to find out that Simon did this, or even thinking that Simon was involved. So I just wish that there had been more hints, because when I read books like this, I'm trying to figure it out too. Like I'm not just like reading it to like read it, I'm reading it to figure it out. My scarf's bothering me a lot. Sorry. Going off of hints though, there was not a lot of hints in my mind that we were gonna find out that Jake, which was Addie's boyfriend, was an abusive boyfriend. I definitely, or I should say physically abusive. I definitely was reading it and I was like, there's a lot of emotional kind of abuse happening between Addie and Jake, mainly from Jake to Addie. They mentioned things like he would tell her not to wear something or encourage her to not go places or kind of stop what she was doing. Like, he was very controlling. So I definitely saw the emotional abuse coming from him, but I didn't see a lot of the physical abuse. So we find out that Jake helped Simon kind of pull off this thing, and that Addie was only framed because of the fact that Jake was mad because he had found out that Addie had cheated on him, which was great. But there was never any time in the novel before that scene in the woods that Jake ever came off as physically abusive to me. There were never times where like Addie would like flinch at touch or anything like that. So he kind of went from being like a controlling boyfriend to like an abusive boyfriend, physically abusive boyfriend. And I was kind of that I didn't see his reaction coming as clearly as I wanted it to. And like, I know that the different types of abuse, I'm sorry if this lighting stinks. It's raining out, so I have a different light on. And it's starting to bother me a little bit because I think it's getting darker outside, so that's getting brighter. But I just didn't see the connection as much as I really would have wanted to. I already read that part, which means I probably missed something. Oh my God, guys. I totally skipped this earlier on. So there was a romance in the novel, as you guys probably know, and it was between Browin and Nate. And like Cooper had a relationship, and there was a little bit of like still lingering feelings between Addie and the boy that she cheated on Jake with. But Browin and Nate were kind of like the main focal romance. Browin was so into Nate, and it was very clear. And then they get Nate out of jail because Nate was arrested. They get Nate out of jail, and all of a sudden Browin's like still wants to be together. She's like, I still like you, I still want to be with you. And he's like, we're done, we're over, I'm leaving. And then like less than 4 or 5 pages later, he's like trying to like sweep her off her feet again and get her to date him again, or give him a chance to like prove that he's worth it kind of thing. And that just felt like the most unnecessary plot point on the planet. I would have rather seen them have some epic reunion than see them break up to get back together so quickly over the course of a novel. I mean, I know they didn't technically get back together, but they pretty much got back together. If you read, like, that's how I feel. Maybe that's not how you guys feel, and I read it totally different. It definitely, to me, felt like it was like just the most unnecessary thing on the planet. Like, I was reading it and I was like sitting there and I was like, are you kidding me right now? Like, this is unnecessary. Unnecessary. So I know I just spent a good amount of time completely ragging on this book and talking about all the things I didn't like, but I loved the story format. I did love that this novel was told from 4 different point of views. I just, like I said, I kind of wish it was a little more even out, and maybe that we had heard from the actual murderer and not just the people accused of murder. But I really liked the format, and this, I believe, is the author's debut novel. There's always things like that, things that I'm looking for maybe would have been different if this hadn't been her debut novel. With that being said, I actually will read another book by her. I saw on Goodreads she has one that's either being published very soon or already has been published, and that there's actually going to be a sequel for this book coming out in 2020, so I'll probably read the sequel as well. When it came down to rating the book, I ended up giving it a 4 stars, I believe, on Goodreads, and an actual 3.75 was the rating that I gave it. It was good, it just wasn't 4-star material in my actual rating. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys thought of One of Us is Lying. Are you kind of like me who liked it but does feel like it was overhyped? Did you think that it was the perfect amount of hype because you loved it? Or did you read it before it was even hyped and you found it as a diamond in the rough? Let me know in the comments down below. And yeah, like always, I'm never gonna promise when my next video comes, but there will be another video. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you want to keep up with me on a more day-to-day basis, you can check out my Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat, all of which use the same username, which is at Judy_Judy94. Alright, I will see you in my next video. Bye, Worlders.
City sidewalks, busy sidewalks, dressed in holiday style. In the air, there's a feeling of Christmas.
Children laughing, people passing, meeting smile after